Yeah, let's go.
And we are going to get into it now here, finally, with our first map of losers semis. Yes. Fishious Rend, led by Dude, Nezzy, Lux, and Hitzel versus Enlightenment of Ross, Nick, Scooter, Joel, and
Wagner?
Nick, right? No, not Snake. It's not Snake, it's Wagner.
Hello? Okay.
I still wasn't sure about that. This is losers round 2. Our apologies for that misinformation, but we do see two sloshers coming out on the side of Enlightenment. And I think that, from everything I've seen while people have been playing this map, I think that's going to be the winning strategy.
Yeah, I think Explosher is a great pick on a level like this. If you can take top mid and you can hold that positioning, it is very, very strong. You can pretty much hit any part of the map in like a 10-mile radius.
Yeah, but not just that. I mean, you don't have to really even commit to get the other team's zone. You can stay in your maze. You can stay behind that block that we see Lux lurking around.
For sure. And the control does go to Fishious Rend. Hopefully they can maintain that lead, hold those zones. Again, double zones are very difficult because you need to be able to control both of the zones in order for that counter to tick down.
And some of these zones can be so fickle. You know, you think you have 90% of the zone covered and still not in your control.
Yeah.
But here we do finally get to see what you were talking about, the power of the Explosher from this this position. It's just so good, and we're actually going to see Wagner starting to push up even more aggressively.
Yeah, for sure. I actually think it's a little bit, wow, did they go for the splashdown?
They did look up there, but you denying that, I don't know what their plan was, but they go 2 down off of that.
But, you know, I think another thing just that is worth mentioning about the Explosion on this map is that because the zones are so small, one Explosion shot will neutralize the zone and another one will definitely take it into your control.
Yes, and it almost makes you happy to see that Explosion painting nerf, but I know Explosion mains out there really, really miss the old days.
The good old days, the golden age.
We've all been there, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Nick doing a great job of putting pressure on Fishious Rend without really getting too risky.
I think that's a great strategy for Nick to employ, just because Nick is playing a tri-slosher, and the range, although it is a very good pick on this map, the range is not. Leaves a little bit to be desired.
Well, based on that last spot that I saw Nick get, I don't know about that. I think the buff was maybe not even necessary on that range because it still hits really far.
Yes. I mean, I feel like that's a slosher kind of thing.
That is a slosher thing. It hits really far all the time. But it's going to be 1 down on the side of Enlightenment. And it could be 2, maybe even 3 if this last player who's flanking in isn't careful. They get the pick on the splashdown. That was impressive there from, I want to say, Scooter, who is going by the name Miku.
Yes, we'll just go with that.
Yes.
And I believe Enlightenment is really trying to get that last zone to be able to tick down their score just a little bit. Both teams having a penalty, hopefully working it out.
And neither team really able to get full control of both zones yet. It's been a while since either team's had control, and it actually might be Fishious Rend here who get.
I don't know. It keeps going back and forth. Oh,
and
there it is.
finally, we see it. Enlightenment getting control, but only for a brief moment before it gets neutralized again.
And I think that is a really big difficulty of double zone maps. It's just so difficult to maintain control of both zones if you don't have turf control, if you don't have numbers advantages, if you don't push forward.
Yes, and I think what I'm seeing most from Enlightenment that has given them the edge here, while they are grouped up a bit, their spacing is good enough and wide enough to not be getting caught in crossfire, as well as at the same time they're looking at the same targets, where Fishious Rend, same spot, but might not be looking at the same player all the time.
They have to be careful though. If they're going to be in the same spot, that could be not so good if one person comes in with a flank.
Especially when there's an Explosion on the map. It's that hitbox is so large.
Hitzel is sneaking in.
Well, he's going to have to get this pick, I think. You can't allow Nick to live here.
Yeah.
But Nick is not just going to live. Nick is going to thrive.
Reap the rewards.
And we're just left here with Dude and Lux for the side of Fishious
Ooh,
Rend.
that was a
Pops.
interesting splat.
Yeah. Unexpectedly getting the pick. Nick coming through with the flank. Going to get to trade out too, but that is going to be 1-0 on the side of Enlightenment. It is a tough map.
Yes.
And
yes.
it was back and forth too. We said that the pools, while it was 3-0 to Enlightenment, had heard that it was very close matches, and here we get to see again. That was what, 62 to 45? That is not a long way off.
I think in this particular setting, just the comps made a lot of difference. Just the fact that that Explosher is so strong on Black Belly. We have that Tri-Slosher, also very strong. Any maps with those like weird, like rounded edges are really good for sloshing machines, sloshers. So I think that maybe in this case, their comp was just a little bit better suited for the map.
Perhaps, and I do think that Enlightenment has a better painting comp, generally speaking, considering what their mains are. So it might really benefit Fishious Rend to opt for a tower control or a Rainmaker, although they might end up seeing Quad Sploosh 7, who knows. But I do think theirs is a much more aggressive comp. It's meant to apply more pressure, and that might not be something that's as doable on Splat Zones where the objective is so stationary.
Yes, I agree. And it looks like that our counter pick is all set. We have tower control, Wahoo World.
And I like that pick for them a lot because I don't know what Enlightenment's going to bring out in terms of backline, but I don't think it's going to be able to challenge Lux's ballpoint nearly as well as the X-Blosher was on Black Belly Zones.
Yes, for sure. You know, something like a ballpoint, just too powerful.
It's
too powerful.
really good. We can't stress how good it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we can.
But we are going to.
But we'll anger ballpoint mains.
Yeah.
And Fishious Rend actually readied up incredibly quickly here.
They knew
know
exactly
what
they were doing. I think, you know what? What I really respect about Fishious Rend, they've probably talked about counter picks prior to coming into this match.
I would wager that most teams have, but I think...
Ooh. I'm just calling out our team, I guess.
I guess so. You know, what do you want to play? No, what do you want to play? But we will be heading to Wahoo Tower Control. And I think this, again, this is not just a good pick for Lux, as I said already. This is a good pick for Dude. He's going to be able to get up into some high locations and just allow that fall off of 9-6 Cal to rain down on Enlightenment.
That's a really long title.
A lengthy loading screen. I noticed that about Land. And we will see a remix come out as the counter backliner from Enlightenment.
Okay. I think remix is probably a better pick than Explosher, but
I certainly agree with that.
I think it might be difficult to challenge Lux's ballpoint.
It's true. It's such a bizarre ability to have the ballpoint have not just the close range, but then have more range than a heavy.
Yeah.
Almost as much as a Hydra.
And having more maneuverability than a heavy.
If it sounds good, it's because it's good. We do see Nick going down on the Tetras. Lux is in an interesting spot here, kind of popping up on left. I don't know. He's able to get that pick on Ross, which not quite able to get Wagner, but the pressure there that Nezi is applying, it's pretty strong, but right now a lot of back and forth trading.
Yeah, I think both teams are still trying to see if they can make enough of a push, enough picks to be able to move forward with their push.
Yes, they're feeling each other out. Lux with incredible, I don't even know if that was fall off or just straight shooting. But he's able to get two, maybe make it a third. I believe, was that Ross on the... Yes, Ross on the Enzap, just barely getting away, having to use the armor early just to survive.
Yeah, and I really like seeing what Fishious Rend is doing right here. They are trying to make that push happen. They are pushing ahead of the tower, making sure that the tower has a clear path to be able to travel before starting their push.
Now, I know this isn't the most important thing in the world, but did you notice where that beacon was placed?
Where?
On the wall. It's since gotten taken out, but I feel like that's such a weird spot. Anyone who jumps to it is pretty much immediately going to get called out, if not picked off.
Hey, maybe they're counting on the fact that the communication is just a little bit lacking.
Maybe it's a debate. I don't know.
Maybe they just want to waste their time. Take out the beacon. Oh, but you know what? Do remember that beacons tell you the location of enemies.
Oh, this is true. Maybe they were looking to see if anyone was sneaking up underneath the glass.
Very true.
Dude, able to get a lot of damage done. I think that's 2 assists and 1 splat in a matter of seconds. So Enlightenment going to have to stop their push here. And this could be one of those maps that, you know, once you break that first checkpoint, everything else opens up a bit more. But the first checkpoint's so difficult to get past sometimes.
You really have to be able to get those picks and to get that turf control. And ooh, hello, Tetras.
The roly-poly-olies just popping up there, picking off Nezzy, who had the positional and I think even informational advantage, but aim wasn't quite there, unfortunately.
That was a great trade, I think, on the side of Enlightenment.
I would have said it was a great trade on the side of Lux.
So?
Yeah, based on having been in that position recently and experiencing how quickly duelies can splat you there, I think getting the trade is admirable.
I think being able to get the backliner to go back to spawn is crucial in order to be able to, you know, make those pushes, because without a backliner, they can kind of run a little bit more rampant.
Oh, and speaking of great trades, Lux there definitely getting the better of Nick. I do see what you mean. I think it's a more advantageous trade for Enlightenment, but I think it was a more impressive
that's what I meant.
individual play.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair.
We're in agreement.
I'm glad that we're on the same page.
No, if we're not, then who is?
But you know, the score right now with a minute 15 left on the map, on the score on the match, 79 to 59, still could be anybody's game.
But it is favoring Enlightenment heavily with only hits left. He's gonna pop that early arm, and I don't know about that decision.
Yeah.
Probably peeking up a bit sooner than he should have, and not allowing the teammates to get close enough to help out.
Yeah, but I really like Ross's use of the armor right after taking out Hitzel, just because when you have that numbers advantage and you pop that armor, it really helps to be able to push that tower past that second checkpoint, as they just did. And
the experienced players out there will know this for sure, but anyone who's not aware of why map control is so important, just look at what Ross did over the last 20 seconds. All of the teammates that he came by to assist, making it a 2v1 instead of 1v1, that's what map control is about. He's able to fly all over the map, and they've been able to reap the benefits of that.
I think Nezzy, this is Nezzy, correct?
This is Nezzy, yes.
Trying their very, very best to not let the tower go any farther, but a push to 6 is honestly really strong with only 8 seconds left.
If we see a comeback to get the KO here, or not the KO, but the win.
It would be very impressive.
And we're not going to.
No.
Very well played there by Enlightenment on the end. I would say their coordination definitely stood out a bit for me, especially once they broke that first checkpoint. And they were really just kind of setting up the foundation for that push, because once it started, once they got it past the first checkpoint and they moved it through the second checkpoint and through the third, that was so quick, so
yeah. I mean,
dominant.
you mentioned it before, like after that first checkpoint, it really could be a snowball avalanche into a knockout.
And you never like to be underneath an avalanche.
No.
Both IRL and in-game.
I mean,
in-game,
I
bro,
have no
in-game.
experience being under an avalanche. Apparently Barry does, but you know.
In-game.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So that'll be 2-0 to Enlightenment. And we'll see, you know, I think I was excited to see Fishious Rend go the TC route as their counter pick. After that, though, I'm not sure what they picked.
Yeah, I don't really know. We shall see. I think there is a time limit to the counter pick system.
Yes,
there's only a few seconds that they have.
Each team has 30 seconds total to make their decisions. The losing team has 2 decisions to make. The first one only has to eliminate 2 maps that they don't want to see. And it's going to be Piranha Pit Splat Zones.
Another double zone map.
Another double zone map.
And
another.
Map we've seen, I think, for the last 3 sets.
Yes, another double ballpoint, perhaps.
Triple ball point.
Triple ballpoint. That might only be a quantum maneuver.
Shout out to Quantum right there. I hope we don't see a triple ball.
I don't want to see that either.
No.
And I don't think it would be as good here as it was on Albacore, where Rain is just so dominant.
Yes. I agree.
But I do expect to see the return of the Explosher.
Yeah, I was literally
Yes.
just about to say Brian right there. I was literally just about to say that. I think the Explosher is very, very strong on this map just because of the different elevations. And, you know, again, the small zones make it easy for the Explosher to cap that zone.
Not to mention both kits of the Explosher, one having bubbles, the other having baller. Incredible for these zones.
Yes.
So we will get right on our way here with what could be the winning match that knocks Fishious Rend out.
Or the start.
Or
to
the
a
start
wonderful reverse sweep.
of the reverse sweep. We love to see that.
We do.
And it's actually going to be double Splat Lane. 1 ballpoint, 1, I think, heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah, with a Stingray too.
Interesting pick. A Stingray on a Splat Zones map. To be fair, though, this is a very straightforward map. It's very long, and you don't have very many avenues in which the Stingray can go.
I was going to comment on the Stingray, but then I just saw Enlightenment go wipe Fishious Rend while only losing one member themselves. I do like Stingray on this map, but I think with all of the nerfs that Stingray has undergone, it's something that you rarely see anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not everyone is like you, Barry, with the Stingray.
You mean a Ray bot?
Yeah.
It's true. Some of them are other types of bots. Like K-bot. But we've already seen that Enlightenment has pushed these zones past 50, past the halfway mark. And to be honest with you, I'm not seeing anything from Fishious Rend that is saying they're going to make the push back in.
They did take 2 members of Enlightenment out.
But it's going to be 2 for 2.
It's really tough, though, because that heavy is still there. And even though they took out the ballpoint, the heavy is still there to be able to run a backlining position.
And Ross that entire time was just over there being a nuisance and hasn't gone away yet. Ross somehow living through that entirety of that. And it's going to only be hits to the left. This is bad for Fishious Rend. They really need to get a good pick there, which they do, and at least neutralize their zone. But they need to take out Nick here on the Tetras, and dude's unfortunately getting 2v1.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit
Disjointed.
tough. Oh, Hitzel coming through with the flank?
Yes.
We'll go flank.
It's a flank.
Yeah.
And a very necessary one at that, but again, this is kind of what you see sometimes from pickups. There's a lack of which zone do we focus, and we're seeing both zones get in the focus, but neither zone is being held for too long.
I think actually the double backline pick for this map was very, very strong.
I think so too, and it's going to be down to basically just dude to paint this zone over Ross.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh!
Oh, let's see.
Oh!
Oh, this is so close.
No! Oh.
I
A great last stand there from dude, but unfortunately not quite able to.
I think what was tough about Fishious Rend is just the fact that they ran the same comp every time. I don't think they switched their comp. They were readied up very quickly, and I think that gives the other team that opportunity to be like, hey, like we know Hitzel's gonna run the NZAP. Let's outrange him. Or we know that dude is gonna run the 96 gal. Let's do something about that.
It's true, and mind games are just as much a part of tournaments as the actual play, you know. It might be a small part, but it's important. When I see someone checkmark immediately after the last match, I know they're staying the same weapon, and I'm suddenly less worried about any sort of surprise.